Think of a daring car company and Skoda does not come to mind. Take this Skoda Octavia for instance. It's been around since 2013, but this is the facelifted version. But don't expect Skoda to rock the boat too much because, like I say, they're not a daring car company.
It's at the front where there's the biggest change. They've split the headlights and given it a bit of a strange look, to be honest. But there are LED daytime running lights and for the first time LED headlights, while at the back there are new lights too.
Inside, and it's pretty much identical to the 2013 Octavia. The only real difference is here on the fascia. And you'll notice there is a one-piece glass screen here. Now in the old Octavia, you had buttons down each side, but now it's all touch sensitive. Now we've got the larger 8-inch screen here with inbuilt Wi-Fi and sat-nav. The top of the range cars have a 9-inch screen. Entry-level cars have a 7-inch screen. And it has the usual Skoda operating system, so it works absolutely fine. It can easily hook up to your phone. The sat-nav is nice and crisp. The graphics all look very good. And the whole thing works very nicely, even if you are left with some really unpleasant finger marks. The only other key difference in here, and you'll only notice this if you're a real Skoda buff, are the ventilation controls now. They're now surrounded and covered in black, shiny black piano plastic, just to give the cabin just a tiny lift to make it a bit more modern. Elsewhere, well, there's no changes whatsoever. So there's a couple of cup holders down here. We've got the optional phone holder that sits in the cup holder there. Slide that back, there's a slot down there. You've got your aux in and your USB charging ports down there. The door bins easily pass the Carbuyer big bottle test, and the glove box is of a really good size.
The model range is still pretty much the same. Entry-level S is very well equipped, coming with 16-inch alloys, an 8-inch colour touchscreen with smartphone connectivity, LED daytime running lights and a DAB radio. SE, like our car, is the pick though, as it gets dual-zone climate control, a driver fatigue sensor, cruise control, parking sensors and extra practical touches like more storage and height-adjustable seats with lumbar support. SE technology adds sat-nav, SEL gets part leather seats and full LED headlights, and Lauren and Clermont models get luxuries like full leather upholstery. The RS models get a raft of extra sporty styling and equipment.
It's in the back seats where you realise why the minicab trade love the Octavia, because it's a relatively small car, but the interior space is absolutely massive, and you really feel that in the back seats because, look at the amount of space I've got. That seat is set up in my driving position. I'm just over 5'10", and I've got loads and loads of knee room. Headroom is pretty good too, and the whole back seats just feel very, very spacious. Now you can fit 3 people back here at a push, but you will not be squabbling for footroom at all because whilst there is a high central transmission tunnel here, the footwells are very wide. There is no armrest on this particular model, which is a bit of a shame, but there is easily reachable isofix points, which is pretty good for those child seats. And speaking of child seats, these doors open very, very wide. So if you are looking for a small family hatchback, the Octavia should be right at the top of your list. Round to the boot, and it's here where the Skoda Octavia really is in a class of one because the boot is absolutely ginormous. By way of comparison, there's 590 litres on offer here. A Golf has only 380, and it's just so much deeper than the Golf. It is absolutely enormous, but there's lots of clever little touches in here, like when you lift up the boot floor, you can spec this car with a full-size spare wheel. You can't really do that on most cars these days. There's a little slot down there, a little cubby. Look at this, look. Pull this down, there's a couple of little shopping hooks. Talking of hooks, there's a little hook underneath the parcel shelf. There's a 12-volt socket over there. This parcel shelf, actually, if I take it out, you can see, look, you can actually use it to store things. It's not just a shelf that has no use whatsoever. Now, if I grab the Carbuyer large suitcase, you can see, look at how much room you've got. Let me grab the middle-sized one and then the smaller one. And you could probably fit another 3 of those in there. And of course, if that isn't enough space, you need some more, you can just fold down these rear seats, which is perfectly straightforward, although you do have to lean through or run round the side and unlock them. The only bad thing here is that there is quite a step between the back of the seat and the boot floor, but like I say, it's the only niggle in what is a hugely practical boot.
Choosing which engine is pretty straightforward too. There's a new 1 litre 3-cylinder petrol, and replacing the old 1.4 petrol is a new 1.5 turbo. There's also a 2 litre turbo petrol with a DSG automatic gearbox, while for diesel there's a 1.6 and a 2 litre, and it's the 1.6 we'd go for. The VRS comes with a 2 litre petrol and 2 power outputs, or a 2 litre diesel.
Now we've got the 1 litre TSI petrol engine here. Now it's a tiny little engine, it's only got 3 cylinders, and it has a power output of just under 115 brake horsepower. Now it means that this thing can actually get from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 10 seconds, which is pretty decent. Better still, this thing will return in the real world in the high 40s and the low 50s MPG wise, which is pretty good, you have to admit. But the best thing about this engine is how quiet and refined it is. Now it's a tiny little 3-cylinder engine. Now 3-cylinder engines always thrum. There's a very distinctive, characterful noise. You've probably heard me talking about it on Carbuyer before. Now this engine is used in a variety of VW Group products, and in some of those this engine can be very vocal, a little bit flashy at times, but in this it is so quiet. Now I would guess if you put most people in this car without telling them what engine it is, most of the people would say it's a 1.4, it's a 1.6. They'd actually be very surprised it's only 1 litre 3 cylinders.
But while the petrols are all fun, for some, running costs are the main priority, and it's the 1.6 diesel with the DSG automatic gearbox that's the most frugal. Skoda claims 70 mpg and just 105 grams per kilometre of CO2.
Handling wise, and it's absolutely fine. Now you wouldn't expect me to say anything less, really, would you? It's not brilliant, and it's not awful either. Now, whilst it may be based on the Golf and share the same mechanicals as a Golf, the Golf has slightly crisper steering. The chassis is just, it feels a little bit more agile and a tiny little bit more fun to drive on a country road. This feels a lot softer, a lot more as though Skoda has sort of slackened everything off, which is absolutely fine. The steering steers well enough. It's not brimming with feedback. In fact, it's not brimming with any feedback whatsoever, but it's perfectly adequate and perfectly up to the job. The gearbox, perfectly fine. It slips through gears as easily as you'd want it to. It's not notchy, it's perfectly fine. The brakes, perfectly fine. Do you see what I'm getting at? It's up to the job and it's perfectly fine. No more, no less.
The facelift hasn't done anything to inject some excitement to the Octavia, but if you were expecting it to, then the Octavia probably isn't the car for you. In the world of family hatchbacks, the Octavia is right at the top of the class for value for money and dependability. Others may be more fun and flash, but few are as capable. If you like this video, then watch my Volkswagen Golf review and our hatchbacks playlist. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and click the Carbuyer logo to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.